So I'd like to start our meeting off with recognizing the eCar affiliates and our sponsors. Headliners are really the Diamond, Platinum, Gold, and Silver sponsors. And our Diamond sponsors, our Platinum and Gold, will each get a minute to introduce themselves and say hello to everybody. So I'll start off with our Diamond sponsors. Green Home Solutions. I did see Dustin. Dustin, are you there? Can you say hello to everybody?
Hey, how are you? Sorry about that. Dustin with Green Home Solutions, your indoor environmental company. I don't know if I was supposed to give a commercial. We're just saying hi, and we just popped on this meeting in case anybody has any questions for mold, bacteria, or viruses. I don't know why anybody would have any questions about viruses, but we're here to help. I'm just here. If anybody has any questions, you can give me a shout.
Awesome. And then Chris Albanese, I have not been seeing who's been coming in. So sorry, I don't know if Chris is on. Yeah, I don't know if Chris is here. Right,
can you send me the
Susie?
I don't think he did come on yet.
Okay.
He knows about it.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, see,
oh, there he is.
I'm here.
Hi, Chris.
Hey,
hello.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah, we continue to be very busy, just like I think a bunch of us. And just hope that everyone's staying safe. We can help you out with anything. Just let us know. We're very blessed with the position we're in. We know there's a ton of people not working, so if we can help anybody out anyways, just let us know. Anyways, God bless everyone and stay safe.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. And we've got Prime Lending, Dave Johnston in the house with that beard. Wow, Dave.
Yeah, that's what isolation will do, right? Yeah, just wanted to say hello, everybody. I know we have really low interest rates right now, and we're doing a lot of refis, but my primary focus has been and always will be purchase business and my realtors. So Prime Lending has more than doubled our warehouse lines, and we're still able to do 30-day closings on purchases if you need it. So just to give you a heads up on that. And lastly, VA. I'm doing a lot of VA loans. Currently, interest rate on VA, I've got 2.875 with 0 points on a 30-year fixed purchase and refi on the IRRRL program. So if you know anybody, let me know. Thanks, and stay healthy.
Awesome. And then,
hey, Greg, can I ask Dave a quick question?
Sure.
I was just wondering, and I suppose any of the lenders can answer this also, but wondering with all the refis that have been happening, are you seeing a slowdown of the processing of the actual home purchase mortgages?
Not on the purchases. What we do with, and every lender is doing something different, but we're doing for refis, when somebody locks in for 60 days, we're giving them an extra 30 days at no cost. So they're locked in for 90 days, and we're telling our refis, you're not going to close for between 60 and 90 days, because that's the way that's running, because we don't want it to affect our purchase business. So there is more volume, yes, but primary housing purchase business takes precedence. I think that's with most lenders.
If
Okay.
we can get into the nuts and bolts of all of our businesses, we will do that. But Greg, you're going to give everybody, all our sponsors, a chance to introduce themselves, and then we're so honored to have Cindy Butts here, the State Association CEO. I would love for Cindy to be able to have a chance before we get really involved in the main content of the meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be a roundtable format. So you'll have plenty of an opportunity. So just make notes. So I'm going to jump into Tom Morgan, last of our Diamond sponsors. Tom from Sound Home Inspections.
Hi, Greg. April and I are very active. We look like we come from Mars half the time. I think I'm still in the Coast Guard doing some hull inspection when I'm in a crawl space. So, got respirators and booties, but sorry to say they're not fashionable outfits. We're just going over the shelf stuff at Home Depot, but we're working around the clock. We have a couple of clients that were overseas, and nicely employed us, and we're doing videos to try to catch up with them. So we're active. If you need us, please call us. Thank you.
Awesome. Jumping on to our platinum sponsors, and I think, Randy, you're going to hold down the fort for Ryan of Anchor Home Inspections.
Yes, hi everybody. I'm Randy Globally with Anchor Home Inspection. Some of you may know me as a realtor from Berkshire Hathaway. I transitioned over into home inspections last year. We're doing good. We're steady, keeping busy. We do have masks, gloves, and wipes for your inspections to keep up with the COVID protocols. And hope everybody's being safe.
Awesome. And then did Shirley join us from Eastern Connecticut Savings Bank?
I didn't see Shirley come on.
Okay. And then how about John Peck? Did John get in here today, or John Peck Taniski? Gold sponsors, Commissions Express. Keith Turner, I see Keith over there, ready to go from Homestead Funding. Oh, Keith, no, you're not mic'd up. You are unmuted, but you probably have to pick a different mic. So I'll come back to you, Keith. At the bottom left, you go to your mic and select. Let's see what you got now. And then, do we have Kevin from Sunrise Home Inspections? Didn't see Kevin. And I'll circle back to you, Keith. Silver sponsors mention here only. We've got Coastal Home Inspection, Sava Insurance Group, and Tiger Home and Building Inspections. Hi, Sue. How are you? So we're going to jump into our first guest, and I'd like to introduce to everybody the CEO of CTR, Cindy Butts. And Cindy Butts is going to bring us up to speed with the heavy work that her and Joanne Breen, our president, and the whole leadership team at CTR has had.
Okay, hi everybody. First, I just want to say thank you to all of the affiliates. I mean, real estate is clearly a team sport, and I don't think we could have been nearly as successful, especially during these last 6 weeks, if everyone had not been willing to really address the safety protocols that we needed to take to be sure transactions could close. A lot of states did not have the luxury we had, and a lot of our affiliates really stepped up. I mean, obviously there's a risk every time any of us go into a home right now, and we all did it. Not all of us, but a lot of us did it, just to be sure that our clients and customers would have a financial future and that they were able to actually move when they needed to move and close when they needed to close. So thank you, home inspectors, CPAs, attorneys, lenders, everybody, all of you who are on this call. I just can't begin to express our gratitude. Our National Association of Realtors Economists does expect, as do we, that we will have a bump in real estate sales as soon as this ends. People who pulled their house off the market for a short time period, or buyers who decided to wait, they still need to sell and buy. So whenever this order gets lifted and people start to feel more safe, the ones who pulled out, some have felt okay about this all along, but we do expect it. We're also seeing, and I assume it's in your area, that there's still multiple offers on certain price points. There's still people who are buying right now. So one thing we are not expecting, by we, I'm saying national economist Lawrence Shune, nationwide, including in Connecticut, we are not expecting to see price drops through the end of the year because there is still demand. So to that end, our executive committee approved a media campaign, which hopefully some of you have seen. It involves 11 of the iHeart media stations, and it also involves WTNH. And it's a Home Safe Home campaign, just to remind the public that they can list a home right now and they can buy a home right now. So if they're waiting to put it on the market, there is a demand right now from buyers. They could get the price that they want right now if they're comfortable listing. And we're reminding them that our industry, all of these weeks, and all of our partners in transactions, our appraisers, attorneys, all of us are taking safe procedures. So we are hoping to really let the public know that. Joanne Breen, who is our president this year, is doing a series of interviews, again, on the same topic, to remind the public that this really is a good time to list and buy. If they have a life situation that means it's time, to please participate. So those are the first two things, the thank you, and also to let you know about the Home Safe Home campaign. The third issue is related to the PUA program rolling out. I don't know how many of you are waiting for that program, but there's a step one and a step two that we weren't expecting. Everyone is very frustrated. It hasn't rolled out, but it's difficult to be angry. Our state employees are working as hard as they can. They were asked to put up a brand new computer system that did not exist, with federal rules that are constantly changing. Even as of last week, our Department of Labor got new rules from the federal government that they needed to program. All of that stuff, if any of you have been involved with computer programs in your career, if you're involved now, it's really difficult when the rules change after you've done something. But they are planning to move forward. We had hoped that today would have been the day that step two, the button for step two, would have been released to allow people to do the next part, which is the actual application for the PUA funds. There's not really a sign that's going to be today. We will send a text alert out as soon as we know what it is, what the date is. We're getting a lot of very specific questions, like how do I do this calculation? How will I do it on a weekly basis? And Department of Labor has said to us that they will publish the guidance when that's out, but we aren't going to be able to get it earlier. I know that's frustrating to others as well, but I think their concern is getting everyone through the first part of the process before they start to get a lot of questions for the process that has not launched yet. But again, hopefully you've all signed up for the text alert system with CTR. If you haven't, I'll put it in the chat, or Susie can type it in the chat. It's CT Realtors/text. And as soon as any link is up, we will text out the link to you. As soon as PUA is up, we'll let you know. When we have new answers, we'll text that out. But that's really the best way. We do also send you emails. It's just not as quick as the other is for our ability to get information out to you. And finally, I just want to do a couple of thank yous. I'm sure you all know that Susie and Greg are working diligently to provide as many services as possible right now to the eCar membership. Carol Christensen is my president-elect. Carol, we are on calls at midnight, weekends. We've done hours at a time trying to get all of this guidance ready. I don't think it's difficult for you to see what Carol has to give to us at the state level, but Carol has definitely a second job on her hands, if she doesn't already have second jobs with everything else going on. But it's taken a lot of her work. And I always also have to mention Rachel Johnston, who works directly with your member of Congress, Joe Courtney, just to be sure that anything that she can get or Joe can get to get to eCar, to let you all know about that, that Rachel's available for that. So Susie, I don't know if that's everything you wanted me to cover, or Greg, or if there's additional questions, but I can certainly answer whatever questions.
That's wonderful. If anyone has any quick questions for Cindy before we move on, feel free to ask them, put them through the chat, or just unmute yourself.
While they're doing that, I'm going to add one more thing. My email address, and I'm one of those unapologetic AOL users. So my email address is Cindy Butts, all one word, CINDYBUTTS @AOL.com. You all pay a lot of dues, and one of the things you pay for is me. So feel free to email me directly, night or day. We are trying to answer emails as quickly as we get them in. So even if you don't want to post right now, feel free anytime to email me, and I will either direct you to the right staff person, or I'll answer myself, or do whatever I can do to assist. But we're very aware that we're one of the business costs that you have, and we want you to believe that that money is money well spent. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly at any time as well. And if you get anything to Carol, Carol and I are in constant communication, so that's another route too.
Yeah, and I want to point out that I really see CTR, Cindy, as the hub for information for us. NAR, and I said this on call, feels like a month ago, NAR is obviously the big dog, but CTR has state-specific information that is really relevant to us. And NAR's information is a little bit general because they're having to deal with all the states, and it's about as accurate for us as a Connecticut like a national forecast could possibly be. It's 70 degrees and sunny somewhere, not here in Connecticut today. So CTR's work is, I think, critical. Susie has in the chat, and again, if you join the call late, just bring your mouse down to the bottom, dead center. If you're on a PC, chat, hit that button. You'll see CTR 5, just text the letter CTR 52886. That's the number you're texting to. Instant notifications anytime there's a new update. And on the CTR website, Susie, we don't necessarily have to pull it up. It's just
ctrealtors.com/forward-text.
And right at the top, there's a little bar and banner at the top. That's the critical one. Hit that banner and it's going to bring you to the coronavirus page, which is constantly getting the latest and the greatest updates. There's excellent information. And in fact, one of the things that I'll spotlight, because I've been asked by a few members, the open house policy. Open houses, we generally as an organization and state, the number that Carol was so kind to share with me was 1,500 open houses on an average weekend. I think 2 weekends ago it was 16.
And half of those were in your area, right?
Yes, unfortunately. But it's not illegal. It's
Nope.
just not recommended. And so it's something that I sometimes think of it as the high road versus the low road. And if you're, yes, you can be still on the field, but it's a business decision, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it's probably one of the only times in our history that our executive committee took an absolute position on a practice. Just because we're very concerned about open houses and the number of people. I mean, obviously our home inspectors are going to be going into that house later, so are our appraisers, so are buyer clients. I mean, I think we've all, as an industry, tried to make a commitment to keep it as safe as possible and to communicate to sellers and buyers that we're really trying to limit the number of people in a home. But there are vacant properties out there, and there are some sellers that'll say, I'll let you do this once. You have like these 2 hours period to do showings and then never again, because I insist that you clean the property after it. So there's a lot of different communications that are coming from sellers. But right now, even if someone does an open house, they still have to completely observe all of the rules that are mandated by our state related to face coverings, the number of people who can be in a property at the same time. All of that has to stay in place. So we have seen with the very small number of open houses statewide that are happening, it may be they'll schedule 5 at a time, and then they'll have a break in between those 5 and do some cleanup of the property before the next group comes in. But obviously it can't just be enter at will if there's already other people in the home. But it is not illegal to do them.
Cindy, there's a question from Suzanne Walsh. Are there requirements for cleaning a seller's house for a buyer before closing?
This is where our general counsel loves for me to answer a legal question, but I'm going to do a disclaimer that I'm not an attorney, but this is the answer that I've seen to these types of questions. Whatever is in your contract right now is still in your contract. So if you have a clause in your contract that says the property must be broom clean at the time of closing,
which ours does. That's what ours does.
Well, and one of the things that we retained as an essential service is the ability for us to participate in walkthroughs. Because as part of the walkthrough, that's where a buyer agent is able to assist their buyer client in ensuring all of the contractual terms still exist. We are not hearing that people are having difficulty hiring cleaning services when they've needed them for closings. So that may be if the issue with not having a clean property is there's not a cleaning service, reach out to others to find out who can help you do that. But the contract clauses, unless some of you are signing some of these, and there's a wide variety of these addenda that people are creating out there. So look to see if anything in one of those, and CTR has no idea. Ours certainly does not have language that would negate that clause in a contract, but always look back to the contract to see what it says, because coronavirus didn't change that. If you still have broom cleaning and walkthrough and all of it, that does still exist.
You
Yeah,
guys all know that Green Home
Back then.
Solutions is available for
Right.
coronavirus cleaning.
I was just going to toss that out there. Dustin does offer that. And from just a practical standpoint, you know, I think it's more on the buyer's side of things than the seller's. You know, if the person wants to take it to another level, they always can. And
Right.
the other thing to keep in mind, just mentally about the topic, I picked up my
One sec.
mother's car from service, dropped it off to her. She hadn't seen me for a while, and she started walking close to me, and Mom, stop. And then she wouldn't stop. Finally, I had to yell at her, Mom, get away from me. I said, please. And so she's like, why? And I'm like, because you can't be close. And so the point was,
We are not
I said,
close, Mom.
I said, I said to her, I said, Mom, just let the car sit here. You don't need to go anywhere. You're not going anywhere. Don't touch the car for 72 hours. And
Hey, one last question
Yeah,
for Cindy is coming from Sue from Tiger Group. You want to go ahead, Sue?
Hey, sorry about that. I'm just
Yes,
trying to.
hi Cindy.
Hi there.
As far as home
I would suggest that
inspection,
we,
Dustin?
I got it.
Okay, thanks.
as far as home inspections go, we are monitoring your text messages and then going to the website and seeing all the protocol. And I guess the real question is, you know, we want the principal buyer and the realtor there. What is your recommendation as far as them with the face coverings, you know, realtors and gloves? Because there's been some mixed messages that we're getting from the real estate community.
When we talked to DECD about it, we believe that we fall more into the area of retail because we're in a closed house. So the guidance that we put out, that we had DECD review, it does have us similar to retail, saying when you're inside a house, you need to have a face covering. It is not about safe spacing. It is about a face covering. Do both. Have a face covering and safe spacing. There are some sellers and some home inspectors that are not allowing, that they're making the decision to not allow additional people to come in. They're saying that we'll review the report after the fact. You know, we'll give you more information, but we aren't going to go in with additional people. So I think really for the first time, a lot of people are seeing direct instructions that they're honoring. You know, that even if the buyer wants to be there and the buyer agent wants to be there for the home inspection, sometimes that's just not an option because of the seller and the home inspector are both. But what we have been saying to people is you need to use it inside a house. It is not just about safe spacing because there's so many surfaces involved.
Right, and we're staying focused on staying in one central location of the home, and you know the inspector is then doing summaries or calling the person if necessary to show something. But we're still seeing that some realtors don't have the message, and not only social distancing, but then they're all over. They're just not adhering to a face mask, and we just is there another message that might be going out, because we're trying to keep everyone safe, including the home inspectors.
Yeah, you know what, we will send something out again. I think you're right. Maybe it is one of those things that needs to go out over and over, but obviously every home inspector who makes a decision not to do it again is going to slow down transactions.
Right, which
and you need to be safe. I mean, and I think our commitment to home inspectors is we want you to be safe and we'll play our role in being safe. But I think that you need, and maybe we'll give you a document that you can hand to them, and just say, we need you to review this, or say, maybe that's something we send to all of our affiliates. If you have realtors who aren't understanding how they need to keep everybody, including the seller, you need to keep the seller's family safe.
Yeah.
We send them that information.
We're trying not to pass paper. So at the call, when they're scheduling, we are going over with the buyers about this protocol so they understand it too. But
would you mind sending me your protocol paper, and maybe we could, Carol's on this call, I believe, and we could look at something after this call to possibly work on something that's more usable for you or
Sure.
very specific to the home inspection process?
Sure.
Yeah, that would be great.
Actually, are there any other questions home inspection related? Because we've
Cindy,
got.
you're welcome to stay on the call if you like, but we will now get into.
Yeah, because I definitely need to go. Thank you so much for inviting me, all of you, and please reach out if you need anything. And thank you for the very important role you're playing. Bye,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome.
Yeah, so the way I see it, we have legal, we have mortgages, we have inspector affiliates here. We also have accounting, Greg Antipoff. So staying on inspections right now, any other questions or comments on inspections?
What are you guys doing? How are you following? Tell us what your how things have changed since coronavirus. Love to hear from all you guys.
So, I mean, I'm unmuted right now. I'll go ahead. I mean, basically, the way things have changed is, you know, everybody's working remotely, as you know. Our inspectors are out there. Our staff is doing different questions when they're scheduling inspection in regards to asking if the buyer will even be attending. And that's the first question. And then we're talking about the CTR statement and just the principal buyer and no family members, that type of thing. I mean, so really we're taking time going over that protocol. And of course, you know, we're providing with masks and gloves and booties. I mean, that whole introduction, the introduction at the beginning is we're talking about, you know, is the realtor going to stay outside or come inside? Where's the buyer going to be? So the inspections are probably taking a little longer because we have to spend so much time, you know, going over protocol. And if they're not following the inspector, then the inspector has to go back to the central location, do the summary. So it is a little bit different in that regards.
How about you, Randy?
You know, just the added PPE, and then we give the clients and the agent the option if they want to come in the house with us, as long as they have their PPE and we're maintaining distance. Sometimes it's difficult to show, you know, discrepancies or something, you know, that the client needs to point out, you know, especially like under sinks or somewhere where everybody has to be close. You kind of back up and you say, look in this area, you see that. And yeah, it's a little additional time especially with wiping down and stuff.
Tom, do you have anything to add?
I'm happy sitting in the car, sitting out front at a home inspection. I think it's easier for everybody. I think it's safer for everybody. And I don't have to spend 2 hours suffocating with a mask on doing nothing. So I'm happy to do that. I think it's for everybody's sake. Just wait outside. I'm there if they need me. If not, I just wait till it's over.
Go ahead, Tom.
Go ahead, Tom.
We find it's a little difficult sometimes, but lately sometimes we just have a big piece of paper. We stand our distance with our gloves and masks on. If there's an issue with, say, a boiler and a relief valve, you know, I'm not an artist, either is April, but we just draw a picture and say, you know, this relief valve is so-and-so, and it'll be so annotated in the photograph of the report. So there is some, obviously, communication. We use little graphics. It's not first class, but it works. And some video has been a good medium for us. Thank you.
How have you used video?
What's that?
How have you used video?
Well, April and I work as a team, and when I'm explaining something, she runs the video, and I will point and narrate and show what goes on. And then that video is embedded in the report. So when the client opens the report, there's obviously verbal discussion, my hands pointing to the relief valve, and I'm talking about it. So it's been beneficial. It takes more time, but we think we're giving, you know, additional service and quality report.
Well, and I'm going to jump in there on video also. Tom did a inspection for a buyer of mine who's in Japan. The only time I really can talk to these people is between, let's say, 9 and 11 at night or 9 and 11 in the morning, because they're 13 hours off from us forward. So what we did was we did a summary video just to augment the hit list of things right in the house. You know, it was a summary video, Tom addressing the big ticket items that we saw during the home inspection, then the report followed. But Stephanie, you have a comment or question that you wanted to toss out? I can't unmute you for some reason. You are not mic'd.
Unmute now. Got
There
it.
you go. Got
Can
it.
you hear me now? Sorry,
Yep.
I'm on my iPhone because we lost internet here. So difficult times. I have taken to carrying a few extra masks in my car and a few extra pairs of gloves for the purpose of if a potential buyer is out with me, whether it be for an inspection or something like that, that they never have an excuse. Here it is. Put it on. You know.
Keep it.
Yeah, keep it. Yeah. But, you know, it's just something that, you know, perhaps even the home inspectors, if they have a couple of the extra disposables with them, then, you know, I don't see anybody saying if they ask them to put it on that they're not going to. I know they're kind of at a premium right now, but so is our health.
Well, and I'll toss out also during the confirmations for home inspections or frankly showings, I'm making sure that the buyers are fully aware of the CTR guidelines. And that is, you know, minimum amount of people. You are wearing PPE to get into the house. If you're not feeling well, you're not welcome to the showing. And I even try to front run a personal showing with a video walkthrough, you know, ahead of time. So, let's see, did we pick up any other questions? No. So let's just rotate back to, and I want to go back to Keith Turner. Keith, you were having audio problems. Are you fixed now? Can you talk?
I think I'm here.
You are. We got you loud and clear.
Okay,
So
good.
Keith Turner, go ahead.
Every so often I find it's easier for me to call in on the headset or on the normal landline, but obviously it wasn't working today. But anyways, yeah, from our standpoint, everything's moving smoothly. We've been paperless for a couple of years now. All of our closing, underwriting, all of that's working from home. I'm still in the office. Pam's here as well. So we're just business as usual for us. Haven't really seen any slowdown other than just what everybody's kind of probably been hearing is verifications of employments. If you have clients that are out there obviously buying and depending on where they work, the employer needs to verify that they work there. Somebody needs to be there to answer the phone. So maybe telling them, hey, we're going to need the best email address because maybe they're not answering the landline phone at the office, but they're checking their emails. And then also, I think most lenders have the Fannie Mae's instilling that we check right before the closing to make sure that they are still employed, not just employed, but also earning the same income. So there's always going to be this very last minute request for a pay stub or some sort of proof. So just letting your buyers know that, hey, there's going to be a last minute request there, just so there's no surprises. Everybody tends to feel like they're getting picked on when they're buying a house. You know, they're getting asked for every document under the sun. And just when you think it's over, one more document. But as is, that is real estate, that is mortgage industry. Other than that, we're cruising along. Our average closings under 30 days. Chaffa right now is at a one day to 2 day. It keeps going back and forth, so I'll just say 1.5 day turnaround time. And then one weird nuance that they're doing that I don't think is going to last very long is that they are now only closing loans, and I don't know the reasoning behind this, only closing loans between the 1st and 15th of the month. So if you have any closings that are Chaffa loans, just try to make sure they're between the 1st and 15th. So we've had to move some closings up, move some closings a couple of days later, adjust, you know, as we all have been doing in this industry these past couple of weeks. I don't foresee that situation or that guideline that they're doing lasting more than maybe a month. But other than that, yeah, we're cruising along, and hope everybody's staying safe, staying home, and hope we get through this well.
Keith, I have a follow-up question on the point that you made about the pre-closing employment verification. On that, I think of a real estate transaction as a series of dominoes. Sometimes when things go wrong, you know, if that buyer blows out, the problem that a listing agent's got is the listing agent's seller may now have moved out And, you know, how close did you just say 1 day before?
Usually, well, I mean, we can do it within about three or so days. We've been checking with every client throughout the whole process so that there's not like this surprise isn't going to come like 3 days before.
Okay.
It's just more of a documentation.
Because
if somebody's not working, we're finding out well in advance.
Okay, because it's super important, I think, for the listing agent side of things. If we get to a day before and all of a sudden everything was rosy, and then we get a blown out deal because of an employment problem, that is not going to sit well with the seller who has loaded the moving truck up and possibly have back-to-back-to-back closings. So
exactly,
that's a scary thing. Dave, you and we're in the topic of mortgages. So after this, we're staying in mortgage topic.
Open it up to all the lenders.
Yeah. Dave?
Yes. Hi. So yeah, what Keith said is correct, but that's we've always done that, and I think Keith and every other lender does too. We always do a verification of employment, you know, a day or 2 or 3 days prior to closing. But yeah, so that's, and like Keith said, it's a little bit more difficult now if we call the office and they're not there. So we got to kind of take care of that ahead of time. There's, I mean, in my eyes, I mean, there's good news, there's been some bad news, but there's also more good news. I mean, the good news is that as an industry, we've reacted very quickly to this. We've got now alternative ways to verify income. We've got alternative ways to handle appraisals. We have e-closings, you know, e-sign applications. I mean, we're the lucky ones, the loan officers, because we can continue to do our business from our office at home. A shout out goes to all of our attorneys, all of our appraisers, and all of our home inspectors, because we couldn't be doing what we're doing without them, and they're out, you know, out in the field. So thank you from all the lenders to you guys, because that's key to keeping business going. So that's good news. The not so good news is that we as lenders have got to be more diligent, because there are changes that are happening in guidelines, and we have to be on top of those so that any borrower that we've worked with in the past, and now, you know, maybe we haven't talked to them in a month or two, and they come back and say, hey, I want to put an offer in, we as lenders have to re-underwrite that loan to the new guidelines. And there are changes in the guidelines. That's the stuff that, you know, the lenders are, you know, that it's on our back. We've got to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's, that they don't fall into that category where, oh geez, you know, they had a 600 credit score before, and now they're not able to get the loan because their credit score requirements have tightened up. So that's something we have to be careful of. And the other thing is forbearance. That's not so good news, because a lot of people are thinking that they can do a forbearance and it's no problem. It's not going to be an issue. Well, and this is for realtors, you got to know this, because if you've got a seller that is selling their house, and they've decided without asking you, hey, I'm going to take advantage of this forbearance situation and go into forbearance. Well, if they sell their house right now, they're at a dead stop. They can't buy. Right now, the way the guidelines are is you cannot buy if you're currently in forbearance. Now, those guidelines, we're getting information that in the next couple of weeks, we should have some more guidance on how we treat forbearance. But right now, that buyer is now unable to buy or refinance. I had a person wanting to refinance, and they went into forbearance. They're done. They can't refi.
Well, that's interesting, Dave. I'm going to stop you there for a sec, because I think was it the WCR conversation that there were a few lenders on saying that you might be able to buy some time. Not forbearance, but just refinancing. Somebody clear that up, please.
Susie, what David is saying is he's referring to a person that is wanting to, that owns a home, that is then going to transition into being a purchaser, if they go the route of accepting the aid and the grabbing that tool in the toolbox called forbearance, which allows them to defer the payment without penalty, they are killing themselves on the buy side.
Right.
So it's not, you know, a person that has no plans on moving, and if they are struggling, it's a tool that they should utilize. So, but I want to circle back to Dave's point, because folks, there's so many moving parts. We have, you know, our industry, all of our affiliates, our business does not work without all of you. And CTR has a very good point on guidance that I want to tie out, and that is our active showings. I have buyers that are contacting me that say, hey, Greg, I'm moving in October. You know what? I'm not showing them a house right now. Until we get to the point where we're at, I don't know what they call it, step 4 or step 2, you know, there's a reopening initiative after May 20th. My email signature in auto replies has guidelines where if you're not in a buying position, meaning ready to go to contract in the next 30 days or by May 20th, I'm not available to show you a house. But circling back to Dave's thing, what I heard Dave say is maybe we as buyer's agents really need to be proactive.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
Not just accept that request for a showing for the person that's been a ghost for a couple months. We should treat them like a new client and say, hey, let's get you back in touch with the lender because things have changed a little bit, and let's validate everything that we already did. That is a super good point. Correct, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the thing. I mean, things are still changing.
Yep.
So, you know, it's hard because this is an ongoing thing. I mean, it's not like, okay, everything's done. This is the new guidelines and we got to follow. We're getting constant changes that we've got to stay on top of. But lastly, what I wanted to say is there more good news, okay? So the Fed has stepped in and they stabilized the market. That's great. Interest rates are low. They're going to be low through 2021. That's great. There's still a lot of business happening right now. And as soon as we get the economy back open, I believe that we're going to be very busy. So that's the good news. And I think that the main thing that the realtors should take away is that, number one, forbearance should be done only if it has to be done, because it's not a good thing. We don't even know how it's going to be reflected on the credit report. They're saying it's not going to be on there. We're hoping that's the case. The other thing is, once the forbearance is over, well, guess what? The file then has to be modified. Now, you know what happened with modifications back in 2009. Those were nightmares because the lenders, they don't have any specific guidance as to how they're going to handle the repayment of that forbearance. Some of them are doing lump sum. So how would you like that? Is after you're not making payments for 3 or 6 months, saying the lender say, okay, now you got to make a lump sum payment. Some of them are doing extended payments added to their payments for the next 6 months. And very rarely I've heard that some are putting them on the end of the loan. Okay. But we don't know. There's no real guidance yet. And it's dependent upon lender to lender, how that forbearance is going to be handled.
Okay, I have one more question that came in through chat from Carol Christensen, and her question is, and any lender, how about even Ann, give Ann an opportunity. Ann, you're with Total now, correct? All right, I'm gonna unmute you and let me pose the question. Unmute, there you go. Okay, so you should have an open mic. And the question from Carol is, what happens to the buyers who are in the pipeline that get furloughed? Are they just out of luck? What happens to them?
We're taking it on a case-by-case basis. There may be other compensating factors that we may still go ahead and close. We're looking at every single one individually.
So again, we as buyer's agents, if you are representing buyers, we should be dealing with our buyers is treat them like new, get them back in touch with the lender partners that you've connected them with or that they are affiliated with, and have them, basically get their vitals again.
Right. Update
and
the application. Right. Because
okay.
I even had somebody in February that I was talking to about an FHA. And back then we could do a score of 580 and a debt to income of 55. Well, that's totally not the case anymore.
Right.
So I have to reach out to them and say, we need to relook at your whole situation. Maybe you really don't qualify for what we were talking about back then. And then on the forbearance side, every mortgage servicer, as Dave said, can do it whichever way they want. So like he said, they can either ask for lump sum, they can tack it to the end of the mortgage, they can ask for it in 6 months. They're all doing something different. So we are trying to tell people that ask us about it is to check with your servicer, because everyone is different.
Okay, and one other topic on the high end of things, I've heard that there's been changes in the jumbo, and it's a little bit more difficult. Have any of our lender affiliates seen changes on the high end?
Yes, and also on the rehab loans, we're kind of stepping back on those.
Dave, how about you? You do rehab a ton.
Yeah, the only program that we've had credit score increases. So now on our 203Ks, you got to have a 680 credit score. It used to be 620. They bumped it up to 680. But we're still doing them. But the VA has squashed the VA renovation loan. And that was because they don't want the VA appraisers going out to the property multiple times. They haven't done anything about regular VA financing, but they just said the reno is on hold. So we got to wait on that.
Okay, so that's dramatic. That's a dramatic change, and I thank you for sharing that, especially since I love to use you for renovation mortgages. Any other mortgage related questions for our mortgage affiliates?
Yes.
Dr. Yon had mentioned with regards to the jumbo loans and he mentioned this at one of the committee meetings I was just on with him, that the jumbo loans have slowed down to some degree, just because obviously they're not being sold to Fannie and Freddie, and they have not gotten the same benefit of any relief from the federal government as others have, which is why that has slowed down. Are we seeing anything differently with any of our local lenders with that?
No, no, they've slowed down. The jumbo programs have tightened up, and a lot of our jumbo lenders have pulled back.
Okay, so they better write a check then, huh? Those better buyers. So we've talked a little bit about inspections. We've talked a little bit about mortgages.
Greg's, we didn't hear from Sue Dombrowski. She's on the call and she's a lender. Sue, do you have anything
you want
to add about lending? Did we miss anything? And I do have a question in there.
Sure. No, my capable colleagues covered it fully. I couldn't add anything other than ditto, but really just keep everybody in the loop. And we say this all the time. We're all on the same team, and our collective goal is to get to closing. So keep in touch. And if your borrower is scared about losing their job or being furloughed or, or worse, talk about it. That old ad, when the mortgage crisis was, people putting their heads in the sand and, hoping the problem goes away. It's not going to. And believe you me, I don't want to be day before closing saying we've got a problem. So everybody just keep in touch and over communicate if you feel like that's the thing.
Now, Sue, you or Keith, I forget who, on that WCR call mentioned buying some time with refinancing instead of forbearance. Was that what that was? I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, that was.
Go ahead, Keith.
Yep. So we were finding some of the when it gets reported to the credit bureaus, sort of what Dave was saying. When you're, if you go into forbearance, we're not sure how all of these investors are going to look upon that, negatively. It may not hurt the credit score, but it may be looked upon as almost like a mortgage late, where you can't get a new mortgage for 12 months out from the forbearance. So I've been looking at some situations where, hey, you do a refinance on the house. Now you've bought yourself, whenever you do a refinance, or as you guys know, when you close on a house, your first mortgage payment isn't until the next first of the month after. So if somebody closing today wouldn't pay their first mortgage till July 1st. They bought themselves a month there. Also, the monthly payment's going down. Maybe, hopefully, the interest rate, ideally is going down, and maybe they get rid of mortgage insurance. So maybe it's not that they can't afford the mortgage, itself. It's that they can't afford the mortgage payment. Maybe a smaller payment still keeps them afloat till they go back to work, and then that way they're still a viable buyer for you guys, or I guess viable seller, and then buyer again, not having to wait that whole next year. As David mentioned, I agree as well. What we've been being told is that the rates are going to basically be where they are for the next till 2021. So not that there isn't an urge to go out there and buy a house, but you don't have to be jumping off the bridge to get these interest rates, because they're going to be here for the time being, is what we've been told.
You said something brand new that I hadn't heard. And earlier, I think Dave said that if you're selling a home, you won't be able to buy the new home if you go into forbearance. But you also added that if you go into forbearance, that would extend out for a whole year, that you wouldn't be able to then think about selling the following spring or what have you. You could be stuck with your house for that year if you wanted to move.
Yeah, I mean, you can sell. You can always sell the house. You just might not be able to buy another one, and that's what we've been told. We're not sure how it's going to settle, but that's what our higher ups have been telling us so far.
Interesting.
Sometimes they were putting it. We saw one first person when we pulled the credit report. It showed up, and it listed it as, it said, Chase mortgage, and then it said student loan deferment, student loan forbearance. Even though it's obviously not a student loan, that's just how they're coding it, because there isn't really a code yet to put on the credit reports to say COVID-19 forbearance. So how these programs are going to read this, it's humans trying to, work on the fly.
Yeah.
And as we know, not all credit reports, but a lot of them, there's errors in there, so you have to get them fixed. So why even get in there if somebody has the ability to pay the mortgage? Just a smaller payment would help them out. Maybe refinance is a more attractive option than just going right into the forbearance. Same reason as David said, who knows if there's going to be 3 months of lump sum due in August, and then they haven't been working for a couple months. How are they going to afford the 3 months? It's just another avenue to hopefully avoid losing the house.
So I had one more question. Go ahead.
Can I say one thing about the forbearance? I think that what we got, the big takeaway on forbearance is that you don't want to do it unless you have to. Because there are people, I've talked to people that are doing it because, hey, I don't have to pay. You're not going to get away with not paying this. You're just paying it later. And the repercussions that you could have by doing it could be very bad. So don't do it unless you have to do it. That's all I can say. I mean, don't do it unless you really can't make the payment.
We've got a Quincy.
On that same quick note, just if you're doing a forbearance, I see Quincy there with his hand up. If you're doing a forbearance, now the towns aren't getting their tax money. The insurance. It's sort of, for lack of a better term, dominoing down. Do you think the towns have ever been able to go without getting the tax money? They're going to get their tax money somehow. So whether that's an escrow reanalysis in October and now your mortgage payment is, 5 times more, as Dave just said, if you have to do the forbearance, do it, but at all costs. If you can avoid doing it, definitely avoid it. It's not a free summer of no mortgage payments.
We're going to go to Quincy.
I actually have a question for Rachel Johnson with regards to this, wondering if this is something we can present to our congressmen to discuss maybe some kind of bill to address this particular thing more nationwide.
I'd be happy to talk to Joe about it, Quincy. frankly, I hadn't thought of it. So I haven't had any clients that have gone into, that have utilized it, but good point. I'll be happy. I'll bring it up to his staffer. I actually have a phone conversation with her this afternoon. So I'll bring it up to his staffer. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And we're at the 1 hour mark, and we try to keep it close to an hour, but we're going to run over because we've got a lot of good stuff here. I want to give Greg Antipoff a opportunity just to talk a little bit about taxes. And as a CPA, one of the interesting things is that any of the independent contractors I know have had to go and prep their Schedule Cs, even if they haven't filed the 2019 taxes yet, in order to do PPP. And it was weird that I heard that as a tax preparer, you're not allowed to charge for that. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. It's like a real estate agent selling something, doing their job, and not being able to get compensated.
Yeah, and that's true. So I'll touch on a number of things, but yes, the PPP, and just so everybody knows, it is still available. I know there's been a lot of talk about the PUA, which is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program that everybody's anxiously awaiting through the state of Connecticut. If you make about $45,000 or more net as a realtor, the PPP is going to be a much better option for you. And that is still available. I have local lenders that are, one that I'm getting turnarounds is when I get them a clean application as soon as 1 hour turnaround approval from SBA. But absent that, if you're below the $45,000 mark, then the PUA may be a better option for you. And even with the PPP, you can take that, and after your 8-week window is open, you can then go and take advantage of the PUA if you want to. So that's some options there. And just to clarify one thing, Cindy had mentioned, the EIDL program is back open today. It may have been back open as of yesterday. I know it was closed, but the EIDL is definitely back open. So anybody, I know there's been a lot of communication prior to this about that. That is back open. So anybody who's looking to do that, go ahead and take advantage of that.
And Greg, on the EIDL, it's cut to $1,000 per employee. Sole proprietor, most of the agents out there are sole proprietors, independent contractors, 1,000, not 10, even though it says up to 10, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yes, I'm sure anybody who's applied got the communication. It's 1,000 per employee, up to $10,000 max. And two, it hasn't been communicated a lot, but you are actually applying for a loan. The $10,000 or $1,000 part is just a sort of an advance. That part is you don't have to pay back, but normally after somebody gets that advance in their bank account, some point in the future, you're also going to get the approval for the loan that goes along with that and the amount that the SBA is willing to give you. That's completely separate from the PPP loan.
And the communication on that has been very poor, I think, because the numbers and all of the specifics of the program are on the front end of the site. And then when a person goes and clicks through, and if you go back to the eCar Facebook brokers or members page, you'll see the video that Susie and I did about 3 weeks ago. It was going how to get through to that process. You do that individual application, literally at the end of the application, you see you are number 3 billion something. You get your printout, and that's it. And if you didn't print it, you don't even know. It just shows up in your
You don't
account.
even get an email, right?
You don't get an email or anything. So it is
all of these programs, and to Dave's point and the other lenders, this stuff is literally changing every day, hour by hour. I look at the not headlines. I should clarify that, but the stuff coming directly out of Treasury, because you can't listen to the headlines. The best resource right now, continue to go to the CTR website. They've been pretty good. And I have to tell you, even NAR, I get updates from NAR as an affiliate member faster than I get them from my own organizations that are dedicated to accounting. And most of the information is pretty good. There's some stuff that is a little bit headliney, but that's why we have these opportunities to kind of clarify that. So yeah, to answer your question, PPP is available. I recommend, you don't actually have to file your tax return. You do have to prep your Schedule C. However, I still recommend prepping your Schedule C, because if you plan on doing the PUA, with the instructions that exist now, you're going to have to break down your income in step 2 per per quarter for 2019. So now's not the time to be on vacation and say, oh, I have until July to get my taxes together. I'm just going to do the unemployment and sit back and relax. No, get your stuff done. And the other thing too, I'm encouraging it, even though we don't have to file or pay till then, let's find out where we are. If you happen to be in a situation where you get a refund, let's get that money in your pocket. And if not, let's at least know what you're going to owe, so that as part of the whole financial plan and everything that's going on, we can have a plan of we have a little bit of a runway and a time frame to figure out how we're going to pay that, or what our options are.
Greg, one of your first points that you had was a interesting one about you have a local lender that is working. And let me set the table for an answer to a question I've got about that. Most agents, independent contractors, sole proprietors are utilizing, and I know as an accountant, you would say this is not the right way to do it, but the person that does a few deals a year, they're commingling their funds, so to speak, on a personal level, running it through their personal bank accounts and their personal credit cards, and then breaking that stuff out, giving you the receipts and giving you maybe their Quicken or their spreadsheet, QuickBooks numbers. And one of the requirements of the PPP has been that most of the lenders have taken that you have to have a business account already established. So how, that's been a roadblock for some people.
So here's my little secret, right? So most banks in the beginning were only handling their own clients, rightfully so. My particular bank, I was upset about this, and I don't mind sharing because they've now fixed the situation.
Who is it? Throw the name out.
It's Charter Oak.
Yep.
Okay, Charter Oak in the beginning did not want to participate. Is this being recorded and published to YouTube?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I'll leave it at that. But they've turned around and they've decided to participate. And since then, they have been the most responsive lender thus far. So a lot of my clients that had Charter Oak, we had to go use these online lenders, which just had tons of applications and we had no luck. About a week in, Charter Oak changed their mind. So the good thing about Charter Oak, if you live or work or volunteer in either New London County or Windham County, you can open up an account with them and they will process your PPP application. That's been my experience this week. Like I said, I've been getting applications approved through the SBA in as short as 1 hour with them. And that's me giving them a very clean application. And at the latest, it's been 1 day. So, this money is gonna run out if it's not already gone today. If this is something you're looking at doing, get it done today. And I would contact Charter Oak. I would first contact your bank. That's where I would start. But I know, for instance, Charter Oak is doing it. I just have to, my only caveat of sending everybody there is pretty much anybody on this call would consider work in Windham or New London County. But some of my clients are more towards the Middlesex, New Haven, and they're operating in other counties. But anybody in ECAR should qualify to open a bank account at Charter Oak.
And Greg, I actually did my application through Charter Oak, and I concur that they were very responsive. Within 24 hours from the date of application, they called me to let me know that one initial was missing, corrected the initial, and next day later, I got the paperwork emailed to me from their closing attorney with the instructions on how to send everything back. And I believe it might be funded today, and it just did this, I think, on Friday or Thursday last week.
Yeah, they were late to go, but they've been, and I've dealt with all the banks, with all my clients, they've been the quickest, the most responsive, and they're following, they don't have a wide interpretation of the rules. They want things, the law says we can do the last 12 months, which, could be March of this year, previous 3 quarters of last year. But they're only looking at 2019. That's fine because I'm able to get people through and get them quick. I'm not really arguing with them on some of the other things. But I do want to mention, if I have 1 minute, on the forgiveness amount, because there's a lot of questions. The banks are coming back to a lot of people and telling them they need to open a separate bank account because the bank needs to be able to audit how this money is spent. And they're saying it needs to be spent on payroll.
75% in order for it to be forgiven.
So I'm going to cut this into 2 categories. So we have realtors who have teams and may have actual employees on staff and may operate, say, as an LLC or an S Corp. That's one half. I'm not going to get into the nuances of that right now. But for the majority of the people on this call, they're just a straight sole proprietor. They file their taxes Schedule C with their tax return. For them, the way the forgiveness is, you don't have to spend any of the money. The way it works is it's what's called owner's compensation replacement. basically the way the loan is calculated, they take your net income, box 31 from your tax return, and they're giving you 2.5 months worth of income. On the forgiveness side, it's
with a cap. Hold it, with a cap
of
at
100K.
Yeah.
Yes, 100K. If you make more than 100K, you're capped at 100. It's a $20,833 loan. I've been doing them all day long. I know the number. But my point is, on the forgiveness side, it's the equivalent of 8 weeks of your net income. So if you take that box 31, divide it by 52, that gives you your we're talking 2019 numbers, that gives you your weekly income number, multiply that by 8, that's the amount that will be forgiven at a minimum. If you happen to be and I say a minimum because that's what would be considered the payroll portion. The other 25% could be things like rent and utilities. If you happen to be somebody that rents a space out, now I'm not talking about renting your house or mortgage on your house or utilities at your house, but if you have a team space you rent out, you actually have a commercial lease somewhere, those will also get built into the forgiveness calculation.
Now, this also came to my mind that, for example, our home inspector groups that are not necessarily going with a, paying themselves a salary through a schedule, through a S corp. If they are operating as sole proprietors, they have the same option, same benefit.
Yeah. Anything I've mentioned, anybody on this call who's not a W-2 employee, it applies to you. So home inspectors, the lenders, if you happen to be independent contractor, it applies.
If you're 1099.
Yep, if you're 1099, these programs are still available to you. And likewise, if you're in a partnership, there's certain rules, but basically that same rules, there's rules to calculate what your owner's compensation would be, even though you don't actually you may not actually draw a paycheck from your business.
And it sounds like they can call you, Greg, because they don't have to pay you right now for this advice.
Oh, yeah. So to get back to answer the question. So yes, I cannot charge. Well, technically I can't charge for filling out the application. Now, as the lender said, there's many tools in the toolbox right now. And people are running after the ones that are the headlines. There's things people aren't even talking about. Like if you're a realtor right now and you were stuck at home and couldn't work because your kids were home from school, guess what? Your wages can be reimbursed from the government. Nobody's talking about that stuff. So there's a lot more programs here. But my point is what I can charge for, and I haven't. At the peak, I was working 20-hour days getting my clients ready for opening day of the PPP. I haven't charged anybody, not a single person, for a consult, whether they're a client or not. I could charge for the tax advice to say, hey, let's pick out which programs are best for you, because there is the PPP and the PUA, but there's about 12 other things that nobody's talking about. But yeah, unfortunately, the banks are making 5% on these loans.
Exactly. I was just going to say, that's where Charter Oak's very smart, 5%.
Yeah, and they can't charge the lenders, or they can't charge anybody any fee. I could, if I wanted to, through the SBA, file this form and try to get a 1% agent fee. But what I found is even if I wanted to do it, most of the banks aren't willing to pay it out of their 5% anyways. I'm here for this community. We all going to get through this together. I'm hoping, the goodwill will come to me on the back end. But what I do have to say, call me if you need to. Reach out to your lender, number one. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 2-week at home. I just had both baby monitors in front of me while my wife is trying to put down the other one. I have more work than I can get through. My point is I'm trying to help even my clients, and I feel bad because I'm trying to squeeze in every hour I can, but it's tough having two young ones on 2 different sleep schedules and everybody home. So.
Congratulations, Greg.
But there's an advantage, Greg. You're the only CPA affiliate. So Susie, if you can put Greg's email and phone number in the chat, that would be great.
Email, put the email in, and I'll send you a link to schedule a time, and we can do a Zoom, or we can do a call, and we'll get you through the process. But like I said, PUA we know is on hold. We're waiting for that to come out. PPP, if you're thinking about it, today we got to do it. Because this money is going to run out again.
Maybe you could put it in the waiting room.
Yep.
I'll look for it. But Rose has a couple of questions for, I don't know, Greg, I don't know which one, but does getting commission checks now for transactions that were initiated in January prevent from applying for PUA? How exactly does one show that the PPP loan all goes towards commission income?
That was a question before we started the meeting officially when Cindy Butts was on the line. They don't know the answer yet. on that. And we had discussed that example of a check of, if a person gets a $3,000 check 1 week, does that mean you take the 3,000 divide by 5? Does that 600 per week? Does that mean for the next 5 weeks they can't get any money? They don't know the answer to that yet. So stay tuned. Best way to get the answer on that is go back up in the chat and pull out whoever asked that question, your phone, text to this number, 52886, 52886, the letter CTR, and you're going to get an immediate update as soon as that PUA is clarified. I also want to share that I did share Joe Courtney's link. Please pull that out of chat. Joe's got an awesome coronavirus resource page, and it talks about all of these different programs. We had Joe on last month. He spoke about those. That call is also up on the eCar YouTube page, and I know it's up on the eCar member and brokers Facebook pages. There's a new question. Nope, that's from Quincy. Yes, this is for Greg. Also 1099 from another business as well. Did not include that in his initial PPP. Is he allowed to do a second application for the second business?
No, unfortunately not. It was a one-time shot, and with any of this stuff, and it's disappointing because originally it was payroll only. It took 3 weeks for them to come out with the guidance that said how to actually calculate what your loan amount would be for the PPP, meaning how to include if you're a partner or sole proprietor. And it came out after the first round of funding was already gone. So I have business owners who happen to have LLCs. They don't get a paycheck themselves, but they had people on payroll where we use strictly the payroll numbers to apply for the loan. And we didn't find out till 3 weeks later that there could have been a number built in to compensate the owner as well. So no, unfortunately, it was a one-time application. For those who went early, they were lucky because they got the money. Unfortunately, you probably got less than you possibly could have.
And I like the phrase that you used, Greg. You called it income replacement, that 20,800.
Correct.
Because,
yeah.
and because there was an interesting thing, the CRS forum, they wanted us all to think like this. If we've been, having closings and we haven't seen an interruption in our business, don't think it's not going to affect us, because the pipeline, 6 months, 9 months from now, we all of a sudden may not have closings. It is going to affect us. So if you've been paying taxes, everybody I think might say that they've paid their fair share. This is the one opportunity where you could income replacement, even though you haven't seen the income drop off yet. It's important to exercise it. So,
Greg, do we have any? Do we still have any attorneys on the call that we should just swing back around to any changes in business for the legal field?
I think they're doing pretty good. They've got their 6-foot-long tables and keeping people out of there. We don't go to closings anymore, and so with that, I would like to thank everybody for participating in today's call.
Chris is on the line. Chris.
Chris.
Yeah, you want to chime in a
Oh,
little?
I'm sorry. There he is.
That's okay. No, Greg, don't worry about it, man. No, yeah, we are following all the CDC guidelines. Things are well. We're just separating the closings. We're not having agents come to the closings, and it's working out pretty well.
Are you having any issues with the towns filing the documents? Any issues there at all?
No, we just the towns are either you make appointments to bring documents down to them, or you just put them in their they have a Dropbox, so it's working pretty well. They're pretty cooperative. I've got to say I have to really thank John Peck and Andrew Salimi, our counsels for eCar. They really were ahead of this, and John put out some really good emails for guidance. I think we all followed. So good job to those guys. And we're all staying busy. We're doing what we need to do on a day-to-day basis. Our bottom line concern is just taking care of our clients, taking care of the agents, making sure people stay safe. So,
Do you have any requests of the realtors? Anything that you wish they were doing for you that in this new environment?
I think the agents are really stepping up appropriately. We're taking care of people and keeping people safe. That's really what it comes down to. So no, I do not have any specific requests.
Well, the only request I think you probably appreciate is not getting stuff piecemeal. Keep the stuff together.
Well, I could have a whole list of stuff, Greg, but
yeah. Hey, now's your chance.
Then it's agendas when they happen, stuff like that. But it's it's all good. No, it's a regular business, and agents are doing what they're doing. It's a tough business out there, and anything we can do to support agents and our clients, that's absolutely what we're doing.
Well, I think that we're definitely heading in the right direction in terms of being able to provide better electronic communications. Everybody's been able to get a little bit better at this, and that's only going to pay dividends in the future in terms of efficiency. So with that, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for being part of this call, and we hope to share more information with you in the future. But we have a raffle that Susie's.
Oh, you remembered. Okay,
I try to remember.
All right, let me see if I can figure how to share my.
Okay.
You guys see the number 41?
Yep.
You do. Okay. All right. So that's my ran between number. I've done it once already. I'm going to do it one more time. And whoever from the list of registrants, as long as you're present on the call, they will win $50. So let me see if I can do that. So number 40 is Stella Perazzotti. Is she on the call? I don't think so. All right. We're going to do it again. Number 26, David Johnson wins $50.
Dave is there.
All
Awesome.
right. Excellent.
Awesome. Congratulations, Dave.
Way to go, Dave.
Awesome. Was there anything else? Because I think we can call this membership meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Greg.
Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Susie.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
See you later.